get your fix. Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, and welcome to the show. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe. It'd be much appreciated. For some reason, it wouldn't want to connect to Facebook, so we'll have to take it over to Facebook. But hey, we're still doing the show. We're here to talk about things that have happened around the world of the National Football League, which there's actually quite a bit today that is happening around the league. Like, for instance, what we've been waiting for quite some time. Terry McLaurin inks a massive extension. What are those details? We'll get to that in just a few moments. Also, we have to dive into the fact that Dan Snyder, who was subpoenaed by the judge to testify against workplace misconduct inside the Washington Commanders organization, the organization that he is currently the owner of, has refused to accept the subpoena. Now we'll move over to Baker Mayfield, who said that he might have just moved on from the Cleveland Browns. And last but not least, former All-Pro cornerback Aqib Talib, who we've got to see on multiple broadcasts throughout the NFL season, has officially joined Thursday Night Football. So let's get right to it. Are you ready to get your fix? So today we learned of Terry McLaurin inking or signing a massive extension. This extension, ladies and gentlemen, this man right here got the sign, was a 3-year extension worth up to $71 million. Now this does place Terry McLaurin amongst the NFL's top 5 highest players in the National Football League. I'm pumped for him. I knew this was going to come, because I just did not see the Washington Commanders trading Terry McLaurin, especially when he is their best offensive piece, arguably one of their best franchises piece, basically, because the dude literally does it all. He's a freak of nature. That picture right there should tell you all you need to know. Terry McLaurin is a stud, okay? I mean, placing him amongst the top 5 highest players in the National Football League is a pretty big deal. And to go about that, we'll give you all the signings or all the wide receivers that have signed massive deals this offseason, and here they are. So, hey, we had Davante Adams, okay? He signed a 5-year, $142 million. Tyreek Hill, 4 years, $120 million. A.J. Brown, who gets traded to the Eagles on draft night, gets an extension of 4 years, $100 million. Stephon Diggs stays with Buffalo Bills for 4 years, $96 million. Cooper Kupp signs an extension this offseason with the Los Angeles Rams for 3 years, $80.1 million. And then Terry McLaurin right there, right behind Cooper Kupp. So it technically makes him the 6th highest wide receiver in the National Football League. So he's right up there with the top 5, I guess. So, you know, it is what it is. The insiders are kind of wrong on what they're saying, apparently. But, hey, 3 years, $71 million. We got DJ Moore, 3 years, $61.8 million. Mike Williams and Chris Godwin, 3 years, $60 million. So these guys, all of these receivers have received massive extensions this offseason. And it's definitely worth noting that they deserved it, right? Davante Adams, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver in the National Football League. Terry McLaurin is right up there as well. Now, you could argue and say there's other wide receivers that are definitely better than Terry McLaurin, like a DeAndre Hopkins, or, you know, the list kind of goes on. Justin Jefferson, I would consider better than Terry McLaurin. I would consider Jamar Chase potentially better than Terry McLaurin, but that would be a stretch, because Jamar Chase was a rookie last year. He's coming into his second year. Who knows if he has any struggles this season. But Terry McLaurin definitely worth this deal, in my opinion. I believe what he's been able to accomplish with the Washington Commanders is something special and something that Washington has been needing for quite some time. And they realized, like most of us, that if you have a good offensive piece, you want to keep him around as long as possible. Now, I also say he's worth it because, listen, this guy, Terry McLaurin, has averaged 1,000 yards in 3 seasons for the Washington Commanders. All right, and to take in mind, that's despite playing with 8 different starting quarterbacks. In 3 years, 8 different starting quarterbacks in 3 years. We could name them right now probably, right? You have the Dwayne Haskins, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, Alex Smith, I believe, played there. So, I mean, I can't name them all, but you get it. All right, there's 8 different quarterbacks that he had to go through in order to achieve a 1,000-yard average for 3 straight seasons. Terry McLaurin has proved he is a franchise cornerstone to that offense of the Commanders, and he gets a massive 3-year deal. So the details of that contract, which are kind of confusing, but at the same time it lays it out, or Ian Rappaport lays it out pretty nicely for us. It makes a lot of sense, so we'll dive right into that. Here are the extension details of Terry McLaurin's new 3-year, $71 million contract. So here it is, more details from Ian Rappaport on Twitter. He says that there's total guaranteed of $53.154 million. Now he gets a full guarantee at signing of $34.6 million. So right when he signs, that's what he's going to get, fully guaranteed. And then he gets another $12.5 million guaranteed in March of 2023. So next season, basically, next year at about this time, a month prior to where we are currently at right now, he will get another signing bonus or another guaranteed portion of his contract. Then we look at the signing bonus right there, $28 million signing bonus. That's a pretty big payday, especially if you're Terry McLaurin. You want all the money in the world. Then he gets roster bonuses at the start of each league year. 250,000 escalators each year except for the last year based on Pro Bowl nods. So last year he did make the Pro Bowl. So what this is basically saying that if he makes the Pro Bowl the next 3 years on this extension, he gets an automatic $250,000 slid right into his bank account that is only going to continue to grow in his young but hopefully prosperous career. I believe that Terry McLaurin is definitely one of the top receivers in the National Football League. Maybe like top 5, maybe for sure top 10 in the NFC at this point. The NFL, top 15 maybe in the entire NFL. I think what he can do and be that automatic game changer for the Commanders and for any offense really is something special. And this contract extension is definitely worth what Terry McLaurin has been able to do and able to accomplish the past couple years with the Washington Commanders. So congratulations again to Terry McLaurin on a massive 3-year, $71 million extension. It is worth up to $71 million. It is not $71 million exactly. You can earn, or he can earn, up to $71 million. So moving forward, we've talked ad nauseum about the Washington Commanders situation with Dan Snyder and the workplace misconduct that has been going on in the Washington Commanders organization. Dan Snyder, currently the owner of the Commanders, was requested to testify against the workplace misconducts by the House Oversight Committee. Well, a couple weeks went by and he decided, nah, ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna decline that invite because it just so happens that I have a vacation in France and I won't be around any internet, so I ain't going to be able to attend. Sorry about it. I just, you guys can deal with it on your own. I know I'm innocent, but I'm just going to sneak away. Well, shortly after he declined, Roger Goodell accepted the invitation to testify against the workplace misconduct in the Washington Commanders organization. He said he would be doing it via Zoom. So that's exactly what he did. And they had this hearing by the House Oversight Committee in which turned into an absolute circus. I mean, there was questions of why is Why is Dave Portnoy banned from NFL games? What did you do, or what was the consequences of, or the deflate gate behind Tom Brady they brought up? They brought up a bunch of just random stuff. There was bickering back and forth. Like this one guy stood up and basically said, we are dealing with, inflation at an all-time high, gas prices and blah, blah, blah. Went on that and said, we should not be wasting our time on this. So they were basically arguing amongst themselves. Roger Goodell just sat there and said, wow, Jesus Christ. We're going to win this one. This is easy. Just looking around, watching these guys act like a bunch of buffoons up there at the high levels up there. But they testified. Or Roger Goodell testified, excuse me. And during his testifying of the workplace misconduct for the Washington Commanders, the lead judge of the House Oversight Committee, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she requested, or she didn't request, she subpoenaed Dan Snyder, this guy right here, this scumbag, this douche, okay, to testify against the workplace misconduct. Well, typical Dan Snyder style, dodging, dipping, ducking, whatever you want to say, allegations against him. Oh, that happened to me, or that allegation has to do with me? No, it didn't. We'll just ignore it. Just keep ignoring it. We'll keep dodging it. Nothing will come about it. I'll be fine. Well, Roger has to be pissed about this. Roger Goodell, that is. Because Dan Snyder has refused to accept the subpoena by the House Oversight Committee. And let me tell you something. In my opinion, if he refused to accept the subpoena, that tells me one thing. He's a scumbag. The workplace misconduct that has been going on within the Washington Commanders organization is probably true. And that's sad. This guy is a billionaire, folks. He can get away with literally anything, and most likely will. He will most likely end up still being the owner of the Washington Commanders, and that shouldn't sit well with you. Because what if it was your daughters out there? What if it was your granddaughters out there? All those people. You wouldn't like this. You'd want something to come of it. And just because he's a billionaire and has the money to hire lawyers that know the ins and outs and can wiggle their way out of all these allegations, he's free. But I expect the House Oversight Committee to jump on this and to hold the NFL accountable. And I expect Roger Goodell to hold Dan Snyder and the Washington Commanders organization accountable as well. Because Dan Snyder, for dodging and ducking and dipping all of these allegations, just proves to you, or should prove to you, that he's a loser. Plain and simple. This dude is, there's no other way to go about it. He's a scumbag. The workplace misconduct that has been going on within that Washington organization is most likely facts. Most likely. And that's not to say about, that's not to go off about and be like, oh, well, look at their stadium. We got to talk about that too, because poop pipes bursting, railings derailing, and basically almost nearly ending careers, that being quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, when a bunch of fans were on the railing and it just happened to give way. And then guess what they do to fix it? They don't weld it. They don't bolt it back up. They don't even get a new railing. You know what they do to fix it? They zip tie the railing back together. Zip tie. That should tell you one thing about the Washington Commanders. They don't give a shit. They don't have the money, even though they have been keeping two books, saying that some revenue was actually for a certain thing when it was actually not, charging ticket holders $55 for a ticket when in reality they were actually only $44, pocketing $11 and making profit even that way. Dan Snyder needs to lose ownership of the Washington Commanders. And if I was him, and I just got to see the Denver Broncos sell for $4.65 billion, shit. I'd be right there trying to sell the Commanders myself. But what are you going to do, right? You can't do anything because Dan Snyder is a slimy loser, slimy scumbag, whatever you want to say. He is just not fit to be an owner in the National Football League, and that shouldn't sit well with you, because if he actually didn't do anything and there was actually nothing wrong with the workplace misconduct or workplace environment, he would have accepted the subpoena. But I think there is something definitely going on in that Washington Commanders organization. So moving along, getting away from that loser of a person, the Cleveland Browns have been in the news, specifically because of Deshaun Watson. And with the Deshaun Watson hearing happening today, which is said to be actually lingering on or going to be lingering on to tomorrow, there remains a question. If he is suspended, if Deshaun Watson gets a suspension for a whole year, half a year, whatever the case may be, who is going to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? You have a couple options. Option A, you roll with Jacoby Brissett, who you just brought in this offseason. Doesn't know the playbook that well. He's a backup. Or you go back to Baker Mayfield, who knows the playbook, has the chemistry there with, well, hopefully there's still some chemistry left. But it doesn't seem like that might be possible, because the Cleveland Browns have been trying to work out a trade partner for Baker Mayfield. The only problem is he's owed about $19 million in salary. No team wants to take Baker Mayfield and that salary on themselves. $19 million is a lot of money for a guy that barely has done anything. 500 quarterback. Is he really the franchise guy? Is he not? Who knows? The Browns didn't think so because they went and got Deshaun Watson. So that means the Browns are going to have to eat quite a bit of that salary. Probably $10 million, or probably 10 to 12, maybe even 10 to $13 million of that contract if they were to trade him. So that leaves the question open. If Deshaun gets suspended for a whole season, what do they do? If they roll with Baker Mayfield, I think that'd be the logical option, but I think the most logical option would be Jacoby Brissett, because I don't know about Baker. And here is what Terry McLaurin had to say about Baker Mayfield and potentially joining back with the Cleveland Browns. Terry McLaurin right here, he says, I asked Baker Mayfield if there was any chance for a reconciliation with the Browns if they were without their quarterback this season. He said the Browns would have to reach out to start that process. Mayfield said he has moved on. And also that both sides have basically moved on as well. So, listen, the Browns, I think, are slowly waiting for this process, the Deshaun Watson trial, to get over with, hear the suspension, and then make a final decision that way. At this point in time, it feels like the Browns are kind of just going one day at a time, rolling with the punches and seeing what they have at the end of this. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're the Browns, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, you're going to rush that plan and it might not pan out. But I also believe that they do have a plan. And the reason they haven't reached out to Baker Mayfield is because, well, Baker Mayfield said he's moved on. So maybe the Browns have as well. Hey, $19 million, whatever, you don't have to play for us. You're not even going to be on our roster. Sorry about it. Okay? We'll roll with Jacoby Brissett. I think that's what they are ready to do, is roll with Jacoby Brissett. So Baker Mayfield, I think we can all assume, might be on the move very soon. Very, very soon. I think that's a real thing going on. But we won't know until that time comes. But just know that Baker Mayfield coming back to the Browns to be their starting quarterback if Deshaun Watson gets suspended is most likely not going to happen. Okay, folks, just know that for a fact. And last but not least, there's a little interesting piece of information that popped up on my storyline or my Twitter line, on my Twitter. where Thursday Night Football, which has been bought or has been owned or yes, bought by Amazon Prime. So all Thursday Night Football games will be on Amazon Prime, which meant that they had to figure out everything. Who was going to be their broadcasters? Who's going to be their play-by-play, their color commentator, and blah, blah, blah. Well, very quickly, they got Al Michaels to be their play-by-play guy and Kirk Herbstreit of College Game Day to be their color commentator. Then next was working on their pregame, their halftime, and their postgame shows. They've added a couple people already. But they have been working on adding a couple people, and they have officially added former All-Pro cornerback Aqib Talib, who has impressed in the booth recently, will join the Amazon desk for Thursday Night Football. Source said he will be involved in pregame, halftime, and postgame. Now, this comes just moments after there was reports that they were trying to work on adding Aqib Talib and Andrew Whitworth, who just got done winning a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams and decided to retire after winning so, or doing so. They're still working on Andrew Whitworth. I'd assume he might sign in the next day or two, or he might just ride off in the sunset and realize that his kids are at his first priority, and he wants to stay home and do that for a little while before making a transition to doing anything. So just know Aqib Talib has been finalized. His deal has been finalized to join the Thursday Night Football booth, which will be involved in pregame, halftime, and postgame. And he also joins the likes of Tony Gonzalez, legend tight end, Richard Sherman, legend cornerback, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who are already on the Thursday Night's Football. So that booth is going to be amazing. Thursday Night Football is going to be electrifying. They might just have the best broadcasting team out of Fox, CBS, ESPN, and all the above, and NBC and all that. I cannot wait for this upcoming season because there's literally nothing happening in this time period. Football is dead. Players are with their families, hanging out, getting rested up before training camp actually takes place, which is in late July. And then we move forward until the first preseason game, which is the Hall of Fame game on August 4th. I'm pumped for it, cannot wait for it. Until then, we will continue to cover everything that is happening in the National Football League. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether that's on Facebook or on YouTube. Facebook, we'll have to send this over to Facebook. But if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe. It'd be much, much appreciated. For Facebook listeners, like, share. All right, you get it. But enjoy the rest of your day. It's a beautiful one out there. Have a great rest of your night. Be safe. Make smart choices. And most of all, be happy. That is the best thing you can do in your life, is be happy. So have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time like always. And you just got your fix with the Wicks.